This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you worldwide on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and our growing family of terrestrial radio stations, satellite programming providers, and cable programming providers. If you'd like to call, our toll-free number is 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main website is xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Dr. Rom Weber. She is an internationally recognized psychic medium, now in her 18th year of public work, following an original academic training as a sex therapist. In the medical and metaphysical world, Dr. Rom is well known for her spot-on evidential mediumship, cultivated by her attention to detail and her passion for connecting loved ones. Joining me now from her home is Dr. Rom Weber. And Dr. Rom, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here, Rob.
So you were a sex therapist first, huh? How did you do the transition from sexology to mediumship?
It was a very unexpected transition, I'll tell you, because I definitely came from a place where, you know, they were looking at the kids and saying, hey, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. And psychic work and mediumship was considered, you know, a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, it was recognized as a hobby back in the 70s and so forth. But wasn't taken too seriously, and so it was nice that I had talent and kind of dabbled in it, but it really wasn't till, I'd say, about 5 years before I finished grad school that I really began to get into it and develop my practice and start taking clients.
So did you start out to be a psychic medium, or what happened? What was the catalyst?
No way. I wouldn't have dreamt about it.
Yeah.
I went basically from kindergarten straight through to PhD. So I didn't get out of school until I was 30, and I became a sexologist, which is the interdisciplinary study of human sexuality. So that means that I've done sex education and sex therapy and sex counseling and so forth. We've done some sex research. And, you know, that was really the career I had envisioned for myself. I thought I was going to be, you know, this very clinical person, very academic person, and that was going to be it.
Well, why a sex therapist?
Well, you know, Rob, one of the things that I realized as I was going through my academic career was that I had the ability to do a couple of things when it came to the area of counseling, especially with regards to human sexuality. I think one of those things was the ability to speak about the topic with ease. You know, for a lot of people, this is a hard topic to talk about. It's a controversial topic. They can be embarrassed or feel shame talking about it. And I was always just really comfortable, so I could really disarm people. And when you can disarm people, you can educate people. So that was really helpful. And so I think in a way, you know, I can remember friends kind of joking around as like me as like being Lucy the psychologist, you know. So I didn't get a degree in mental health, but I did get a degree in human sexuality. And the more I got into it, the more I felt like I was in the right line of work.
You said Lucy the psychologist, and all you can do is, in my mind's eye, see you with your little 5 cents for psychiatric help. But in this case, here would be.
I even put that on the sweatshirt once
really?
when I was in high school. yeah. It was it's just. At the time that, you're in your younger years of education, nobody's going to say, well, this one's going to turn out to be a sex therapist. It's not what gets in the yearbooks, right?
I guess. I guess. But you did it. You received your degree. And then you went to being a psychic medium. Was that a hard transition, or was the work that you had done as a sex therapist a graduation ceremony in itself into the world of psychic and mediumship?
No, that's interesting. On one hand, one thing that connects it is that both of these areas can be difficult topics for people to discuss, right? In one hand, it's sexuality. On the other hand, it's death, the afterlife, passing on, and so forth. So those skills, were certainly transferable. And I think a lot of the sensitivity that one develops in listening to people and some of the basic counseling skills, a lot of that was transferable too. So in a way, it made sense. And then way on down the line, when my psychic clients and my mediumship clients would hear that I had first been trained as a sex therapist, what they started saying to me was, Dr. Rom, can you take an intuitive look at my sex life, please?
Wow.
And so from that part of the umbrella, I could go ahead and do that.
All right, Dr. Rom, please stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. X-Zone Nation, Dr. Rom Weber is my special guest. Her website is www.drromweber.com. That's drromweber.com. The good doctor and I will be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, aguidinglight, spelled LITE.com, to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
And welcome back, everyone. Dr. Rom Weber is my special guest this hour. Her website is www.drromweber.com. That's drromweber.com. And she is an intuitive psychic and medium. And maybe you can explain to our audience what an intuitive is, what a psychic is, and what a medium is.
I'd be glad to. You know, the words that get confused with each other sometimes. Mm-hmm. And let's start with the intuitive part. Intuitive is the idea that we're not talking about the solar spirit here. We're just talking about those hunches in our everyday life, and we're not attributing spirituality to that whatsoever. So, you know, when they talk about women's intuition or a person just gets a hunch, that's what we're talking about with intuition, and we can attribute it to biological causes if we choose to. When we talk about psychic work, now we're talking about getting exactly the same information, but the attribution of it is based on the idea that it's our soul or spirit that gets that information. So that's why I can teach the same skills to people who believe in the spiritual world and people who don't. It's the exact same skills put in two different areas of human understanding.
Okay.
So that's the first important part to know.
Right.
So that's intuitive versus psychic. And, you know, the thing is that if I'm consulting for, say, like a corporate group, they're going to want me to use the word intuitive.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a fair, they're going to want me to use the word psychic, right? But, you know, you can go back and forth.
Why would a corporation?
So that's the first part.
Yeah, but let me just ask you.
Ahead.
Let me just ask you this: why would a corporation use the services of an intuitive?
Yeah, that's really interesting. What's happening nowadays when we get into the skill sets is this. We know that when we get information, we can get it one of two ways. We can get it with our rational minds, or we can get it with our non-rational minds, right? And what we've realized as we look into people, say, for example, the Thomas Edisons, the Albert Einsteins, and the other people who have come up with these brilliant ideas, is that if you look into their biographies and you say, how do these people get these ideas? They'll talk about getting them from their intuition. Now, they might have gone through all the logical, mechanistic ways of going about that, but when you get right down to it, what they're looking at is that hunch, that spark of light, that, you know, muse, if you will. And so when you look in corporate America, what you're doing is you're having training programs that teach people to differentiate between that rational mindset and that non-rational mindset so that they can use the fullest mental capacity they have, and it doesn't really matter what they call it. It's still accessing the same skills.
Is it possible that these intuitive hunches are just another way of saying all the information that we have stored in our brain for so many years automatically somehow does a lot of data processing, and the answer comes up, and we've up until this time have had no words to call it, so we call it intuition?
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
Because when we talk about the skills of intuition, one of them is called claircognizance, and that's the idea of just knowing something. And how people get to that end of the shuffle on the Plinko board, I like to think of it as, is possible that we will have that shuffle through the times of what we've learned over the course of the months or the years, the days that we've been alive, and boom, suddenly we have that aha moment. That's certainly possible. But in my work and in the work of many other people that do this work professionally, what the difference is that we would be gaining information from which we had no prior knowledge. So we're working with people that are complete strangers to us and tapping in. And those skills can also be taught to people that don't consider themselves psychic. So I would say, to sum it up, I definitely agree with you that you can have the Plinko game and suddenly you've got that aha moment, but I believe you can also get that information without that prior life experience. And that's what makes intuition and psychic work so fascinating.
All right, but when it comes to the information that you receive from people, is it possible that this is just extrasensory perception, that you are picking up their thoughts